I coach a lot of students how to drink, actually. So,
really?
Oh, yeah.
I would have taken that class in college, How to Drink 101 with Jerzy Gregorek.
Yeah, I coach a lot of students from different universities on Zoom and in person. They simply communicated to me over and over, we will drink, right? And so it is conscious, right? It is not unconscious.
What's up, Auxoro Premium subscribers? Before you watch this uninterrupted episode, I want to take a moment to thank you for your support. It means everything, not only to me, but to all the independent creators creating quality content. I believe that subscription memberships are the future of financially sustainable podcasting, and your support for this podcast is a vote for that future. Thank you, and enjoy the episode. This time, I sit down with Jerzy Gregorek. Jerzy is the author of The Happy Body, a mindful exercise program that helps you break free from bad habits and excel. As a competitive weightlifter, Jerzy has won 4 weightlifting championships and established 1 world record. In 1986, he and his wife Aniela came to the United States from Poland as political refugees during the Solidarity movement. Jerzy is funny, insightful, and knows what it means to suffer. More than anything else, he helps people strengthen their minds along with their bodies, and emphasizes the importance of enjoyment and relaxation as part of any exercise regimen. I really enjoyed this conversation with Jerzy and walked away from it feeling lighter and more grateful. I hope this conversation does something similar for you, along with providing insights into fitness, suffering, and living a more fulfilling life. Without further ado, please enjoy this deep dive with Jerzy Gregorek. Okay, Jerzy. So I wasn't planning on starting with this, but I think it could be interesting. So you're coming off of 10 days of having your ears clogged after swimming. And I know for me, when I go through a period of time of some sort of suffering, whether it's something small or something bigger, I usually come out with maybe some insight into meaning about life or suffering, or a gratefulness for something that I wasn't expected. Is there anything meaningful or anything interesting to say about having your ears clogged for 10 days and then being relieved of that clogging?
I guess, we try to do anything on our own and see if it works. And maybe the meaning only is that we don't have to do it just right away when it happens. We need to go to a doctor and to a professional and just fix it. So I was going 10 days with clogged ears and couldn't hear much what my wife was talking to me in a car, and she had to tell me 3 times. And I tried almost anything, I Google and try to find the ways and rinse my ear and use special ointments and peroxide and even garlic, all the things that I could do. And I was successful at a certain point that my ear unclogged for about maybe half an hour and then clogged again. So eventually I got really enough of that and went to my friend who is a doctor. And then she worked on it maybe 10 minutes and it was done. So think about it, 10 days I was going on with this clogged ears and it's not suffering. It's just, irritated, right?
Yeah. I don't know what it is about going to the doctor where I will try absolutely everything. I will try to be my own doctor. I'll do absurd things that I see on Reddit, but just to see if they'll work before I go to the doctor. Whereas sometimes if I went to the doctor right away, it may have been solved earlier. So I don't know what that is, where maybe it's a societal thing or whatever. It's like you want to figure out shit without help of other people.
Yeah, it reminds me of fitness a little bit. Like we think that we know about exercise, we know how to eat, And the best one is we know how to write. So we were studying creative writing at Vermont, and then went to Poland. And my Anila told her brother that she's studying creative writing. Mm-hmm. And then he looked at her and said, why do you study how to write? You don't know how to write?
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like such an easy thing to do, how to write, and yet it's so complicated.
It's kind of a normal thing. You know how to write, but you don't know how to write creatively, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a different story to write something on a page and write creatively.
Yeah. So speaking of Poland, I know that you've said in the past the first time you were faced with unconditional love, and this is what I planned on starting with. The first time you were faced with unconditional love was in a friendship with a man named Jerzy Gregorek.
Yeah, Papaluszko, yeah.
Papaluszko. And he was a priest in Poland, and he was an instrumental part of the Solidarity movement. So how did you and Jerzy meet? And what was it about your time with Jerzy that made you feel unconditional love for the first time?
So I started a fire protection engineering academy in Warsaw. So there were 400 students every year, has 100 students. And during my fourth year, it was 1981, and it was October. There was a lot of struggles between Solidarity and the government. So the government tried to change the law for the fire department in Poland. And the law was that the fire department couldn't be used to against the marching of people, strikes or any demonstrations. They couldn't use the fire engines, pouring water, or something like that. So they wanted to change it, and they wanted to make the academy paramilitary, so that would let them, let's say, to color water, spray on demonstrants, and then find them on streets and arrest them. So we began strike because of that. And then the strike was in Warsaw, Żoliborz, and Jerzy Gregorek was one of the priests in the region of the where Warsaw, where the academy was. Mm-hmm. So when we were on strike, it was really really hard to keep independence, and then so we asked for help. Solidarity came. And still, factory workers from Warsaw came and surrounded the school, so police would not enter the academy, or they would be watching and see what happens there, right? So then inside, it was very stressful, very difficult to handle, and people were very frightened. So we asked also for spiritual support. And then, so Jerzy came to give some sermons. And then I was, a lot involved in the committee or the strike, in the making decisions. And didn't sleep, didn't eat anything, just lived out of cigarettes and coffee for days. Yeah. So when Jerzy came, he delivered sermons, and I engaged with him and I talked to him. And then what struck me is this ultimate goodness that that person had, that was just amazing. The goodness for people, the goodness for the planet, the goodness, just like amazing thing. It was not something inside his mind that was compromised. It was very pure. Mm-hmm. And not only him, but there was also Severny Borsky, who's one of the leaders of the Solidarity, and Weichert was one of the professors from MIT, kind of MIT in Warsaw. And, these people had something that I've never seen, which I thought is something that we pretend to be. So I thought that we pretend to be people that we love everybody, that we not really love some more than others, and we are not selecting. So I saw genuine, really love and concern about everybody around, and
so
not only really those that you fight together, but also those who are fighting against, and that's what Jerzy had, right? That's amazing.
Yeah. So Jerzy came in when the fire academy was on strike, and you were in the fire department in Poland, and were you allowed to leave when the department was on strike? You said the police were surrounding it. What was that situation like?
No, we were on strike. Means like we took over the building, and people who surrounded the building were thousands of people that were standing around the building for 10 days in rain and kind of snow and very cold. It was the November, it was November, and then December 2nd attack us. So it's winter in Poland. And so we didn't have enough food, so people would bring us food also. And it was 10 days like that. Then also the Solidarity derailed the tramways around. So when they derailed, then police forces couldn't drive through. It was a battle.
Mm-hmm. And so Jerzy came in, priest Jerzy, Father Jerzy. Is that how people would refer? Yeah, just because you share the same first name, if anyone's confused with Jerzy. So Father Jerzy came in when the fire department was on strike. You didn't have access to food and supplies, and people were bringing things to you when you were on strike, when it was hard to get, with everything going on in Poland. And Jerzy came in, and he was like a force of love and light that you'd never really felt before. Like what was he saying specifically? Anything that stood out in his sermons that he was giving to you at the fire department?
It was very calming. He brought us to the present moment and calmed us down with his words, and his words were very clear that everything will pass, and that we do the right thing and everything will be okay. And then every time when the sermons was on, that it helped, students to calm down, because the government was doing everything to break people inside, so they would come out and break the strike, leave the strike, and make us weaker. So there were situations like that too. So the communist government would do anything to break the strike. So it was important to calm down the students. It's important to stay on strike and keep resisting, what was happening around. So the law could be on our side, but eventually was not. They attack us by force, and they took us out.
Yeah, and just so people know that are listening who aren't familiar with the Solidarity movement, it was an anti-communist social movement in Poland. It had over 9 million members, and it's considered to be instrumental in the fall of communism as a whole during that time. And so you had fled Poland in 1985, but before that, you you were a firefighter. You were also seeing things on the ground. It sounds like once the strike came to a close, what were you seeing on a daily basis? What was it like during that time when you were still in Poland before the Solidarity movement went underground?
So Solidarity was legal 1981.
Mm-hmm.
That was amazing time in Poland. It was a time when people were very happy. And people were happy everywhere. They would talk, strangers would talk to each other. And there was already hope in Poland. And a very clear hope that something is good. And something is strong as well. That maybe we'll be able to get rid of the Soviets and then we'll be on our own. Well, it didn't happen in 81, December 13, after they took us down. December 2nd, they attacked us and by force took us out. And in December 13, the government of Poland attacked Solidarity. And Solidarity went underground because of that. So it was a war, Jaruzelski War. It was a war in Poland, 1981, December 13, until 89, really underground. Solidarity was underground until 89. And in 89, as you know, Solidarity came from under the ground to the government and showed the world how to be free. And then the Berlin Wall collapsed, and then other countries freed themselves, like Ukraine and Estonia and Lithuania and other countries, Belarus, became free because of it. So Solidarity was this key, the beginning of collapse of Sovietization. And that civilization was very progressive, very, very powerful. And in Poland, it was from 1944 until 1989. So it was horrible time. It was not different than to be a slave in Poland. You didn't have a choice. You had to obey. And if you didn't, you could be taken to the police, tortured, and nobody would resist or would say anything for you. And that's how
so
it was.
It was kind of like keep your head down, don't say anything, and if someone outed you as supporting the Solidarity movement, they would make an example out of you.
Well, not only that, you also had to learn how to obey and how to show the obedience. So, there were vicious bosses. It means that they were bullies to the extreme. So they would like to see if you obey and if you really obey. So if you are not a resistance fighter, right? So you need to somehow be Machiavelli inside. You need to show the obedience and also to survive, because if you didn't, you could die that day. So it was in some instances it was a horrible way of living, but we had to adapt. We had to find a way, right, in this singular way of life.
What are some of the things they would do to test your obedience? You said some people would obey, and then they'd want to find out, okay, is this person really on board with the government? What are some of the things that they would do to break people and make sure that they would fall in line?
Well, we still didn't obey, right? So completely. Mm-hmm. So we would resist, and we would resist and individually resist, and also we were taken to the police and tortured, and then we had strikes, and we had demonstrations, and then we had demonstrations 73 and 53 and 56 and then 78. And so, we fought, we didn't really completely give up. But on the level of this, a personal level, when people really work somewhere and you just had a boss somewhere in the small village or small city, these communists that were in power, they really enjoy to see obedience of others, to push them to that level, to break their spirit. So I'm talking about personal level only. But on the national level, the spirit never been broken, because that's I remember it was I watched this movie about the Warsaw Uprising that happened in 1944 in Poland, and then the Warsaw Uprising, it was clear that would be a suicide, and then the Russian army and the Stalin, that was at that time the leader of the Soviet Union, he clearly wanted to make Poland obedient and part of the Soviet Empire. And there was London. London was the Polish government of the underground, and that Polish government gave orders to the underground in Warsaw not to do appraisal. But so the appraisal leaders, they said that they had to do the strike, because if they don't, they would give in and they will be Sovietized eventually. So in a way, it was suicide, but there is no other way. So almost 200,000 people died because of it. But it could be that because of that, the power stayed with people from 44 until 89. That Poland simply never gave in, and because of that, was able to crush that whole empire in 89. Give the beginning of the crash. So it's so if you show signs of giving in, then you can be corrupted and you can be broken. But if you don't, then even though you die, others can live and be free because of that. And that's what happened during during 44. And because of that, we had some energy, even though we're born, after that, right? But the energy of that stayed with us. So we kept fighting until 89, when we took over the government.
Yeah. I don't know what it's like to be under a communist regime or the threat of communism or anything even close to that, because I was born in the U.S. I was born in New York in the early 90s, and I've always been in the United States. I've always been living here my whole life, and I can't imagine what it's like to live under that threat of death and violence and an entire government wanting people to submit and wanting to break people and take everything you have. Is there anything meaningful or something that could communicate the horrors of what you experienced in Poland? Because there are some people that point to, there's some people in the United States and people in government that point to socialist or communist regimes as things we should admire, or the positive aspects of some of those governments, without recognizing the negatives and the violence and the death. Is there anything you could say that could communicate what it's like on a general level of what it's like to truly live under the threat of communism?
Well, communism is kind of like kingdom, right? Maybe it's even worse than kingdom. So a king or Caesar could kill anybody that wanted, and nothing could be done to him, right? So it's a really totalitarian state, kingdom. So, communism is this totalitarian state. At the beginning, I think that they fought good, right? They fought about being equal and have really good ideas. But that leaves us with the government that is totalitarian. There is no really any other. So people that start ruling this, they can do whatever they want. So that leads to whatever we want, it becomes dark at a certain point. And at a certain point, you start forcing people and they obey, and you force them more and bully them more and then obey. And then you learn that the only way to keep them that way is using fear. Mm-hmm. And so they stay calm and they stay obedient. And we know today that these totalitarian states of countries that are communistic are very scary for people to live inside. And this totalitarian state is not democracy, right? So you don't have this other side to show this side is doing something wrong. So there is no other side. There's only one power. And in that one power, the government can do whatever it wants. Mm-hmm. It can take you away from your house. It can take you and your family. It can take you, your friends, load on trucks, take them to gulags, Siberia, or torture you to death, and nothing happens, and nobody's responsible for it. So that's what the communism today is, and that's what communism was. Mm-hmm. It's a very scary system, totalitarian system. And even though, it is kind of a mixture level, we tried a mixture in some countries, a mixture of technology and industry and communism, and in some just pure communism and almost no work at all, no technology and no industry. But the system is kind of the same, and treatment of people is the same. Mm-hmm. You are definitely a slave in those countries, even though, sometimes you would feel that maybe you're okay, or you are really extremely proud, like in Nazi Germany, that we can see these parades and people believing in these communistic governments or are being that way. There are also people, scary people in these systems that they really love to be this power.
Yeah. So I know you fled Poland in 1985. Have you been in the United States for the most part since then?
Yes, mostly in California. Spent 18 years in Los Angeles and 17 years in near San Francisco.
Okay, so you've been in Poland for decades, and you've been in the California area for decades. Right. What's the biggest difference you notice culturally between people in Poland and people in United States at a general level? Because you've spent a long period of time in both. Is there anything you notice that's interesting or fascinating about the way people operate in Poland versus America at a cultural level or at a social level?
Well, the system, it's not about people, it's about the system, really. Mm-hmm. So when I lived in the communistic system in Poland, so I was not free, and I was dependent. I was not independent. So that is really hard to comprehend in America, but I will try to pass it on. So when you are not independent, then it means that you are also checked. It means you are told what to do and how to do, and a lot of regulations, a lot of rules around. And also this thing is that you have to do as others do. So you are forced to be certain way. In America, when I came here, it was very clear that I was left alone. And the first time that when I came here, I realized that I am in the country and I'm responsible for my own life, and I can build my own life the way that I want. And really, nobody really will tell me how to live my life.
Yeah.
And I felt quiet, and I felt for the first time calm because of that, and safe. I felt safe. I felt like I can build my life on my own. It was amazing, feeling. And then when I started working in the gym, the first thing that that happened was that I saw somebody was doing the exercise wrongly, right? And
what exercise? What exercise was it?
He was doing the pull down, and it was
like lat pull down.
So I went to him and I told him that he's doing this exercise incorrect. So he said, "Did I ask you for help?" He was right away, right?
Yeah, it sounds like the typical gym
was just
bro.
Right away, America, right? You're like, didn't ask you, don't tell me, right? So I understood right away. Never went again to anybody and do it to the person that thing, right? So because I was told all the time. So you also learn how to violate that to others, right? So I became this Polish government or communistic government behaving in America, and I got it, and then. So that was my last time that I would approach somebody in the gym, and I would try to correct that person. So
I imagine a good way to get a feel for the culture and how people operate in a certain country or certain area is to go to the gym and see what people do. And for sure, because I was like that. I was like this, especially when I played baseball back in college, where I thought I knew everything about weightlifting. You couldn't tell me shit, and if I didn't ask for your advice, even if you see me doing something wrong, where I'm like trying to deadlift 500 pounds and I'm destroying my spine because I'm curving my back, and someone was like, "Hey, you're gonna hurt yourself," I'd probably tell them to go fuck off. Basically, because it might just be like that American independent spirit that makes us think we know everything.
Well, not really about that everything. It's just about more not telling the other what to do when they are not asking you.
Yeah, good point. Yeah,
that's
it's like
the point, right?
Yeah, if you don't ask, don't tell me. Yeah,
exactly. So I learned to approach people and talk. And first I would say, "Hey, I'm a coach here, and would you like to show you some other ways to do this exercise? I know different ways. Would you like me to show you?" So it's more asking for permission than just right away tell somebody. So that distinction was very, very clear. Don't tell people what to do unless they ask for. So then I focus in my life on becoming better, becoming inspiration of people, and waiting until people ask, and not search and not go to people and tell them what to do.
So if you see someone doing something really wrong, maybe it's someone you care about, a friend, family member, and they don't ask you, but you really want to tell them something, you want to give them some sort of advice or insight, is there anything you do to speed up the process of them wanting to ask you, or do you say anything, like hint in any way to open that person up so that you can correct them?
You have to somehow break in, and then you have to somehow mimic the person, and then create a possibility for a question. So you can go to the person and then say, it's your friend, yeah? So, well, your friend is not different. You shouldn't violate and bully the friend, right? So you simply go and ask, hey, I was doing this this way, and then somebody showed me a different way. Would you like to see it, right? It seems like a little bit maybe better. So you kind of, mimic the person. You show that you were in the same place, or you are still in the same place, and you have something to say, and then you're asking for permission.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So in a way, when I coach in the last 30 years, people, I'm building the person the way that the person really makes the choices and decisions, and I'm not really telling people what to do, but I create the possibility to accept the hard choice for the person. So the person builds independently himself or herself from within. So it's important that decisions are original, done by the person, that the person agrees to do the hard choices. Mm-hmm. And then that is a possibility for sustainability, right, of whatever people do. You remember like a Big Loser, and that was this losing weight program, and it was always about pushing people to extremes so they actually could lose all this weight. But then they gain it back. So why is that so? Because they were forced to do that. Mm-hmm. They were forced to lose weight. So when actually they were forced, they could do it. But when they were outside of that, the force didn't exist. They didn't know what to do. They didn't have the power from within to continue to sustain. So the only way to deal with it, I see, is that create different mindset, different brain. And in order to create that, the person has to make choices. It means you have to wait. You have to create only possibility for those decisions, the space that the person is okay with the hard choices presented, and the person owns this, like becomes the owner of the belief, the owner of the way.
Yeah,
and it's not the person goes back. And you can see that when people lose weight and they are, let's say, 160 pounds and lose 40 pounds, they become 120. And mm-hmm. if they are forced to do that, if the mind doesn't change, if mind doesn't become this 120 pounds, that after they're losing this weight until 120, the brain is still thinking 160. Mm-hmm. And it's this way. So it means one thing, that the person will return to 160 or even beyond that, because the lifestyle of that person didn't change. The lifestyle, the system belief is 160, and the person has to return to that.
Yeah, because you see so many people that make amazing changes with their body, whether it's losing 100 pounds or kicking an addiction to cigarettes or alcohol, whatever it is. And then a large percentage of those people eventually go back to the way that they were, or maybe even worse, before they made the change. So maybe they lose 100 pounds and they gain back 120, or they quit smoking 5 cigarettes a day, and then they start back and now they're smoking a full pack a day. So it's like the lifestyle is what you've seen, like that internal mind switch is what you've seen that separates the people that stick to their new habits as opposed to the ones who fall back into the routine or end up worse than when they started. It's like the mindset switch.
Right. It's that during this process of losing weight or quitting alcohol or any addiction, a person needs to go through the change of a thinking process that is aligned with the one that is becoming. So if you are becoming a person who doesn't drink, you would need to change your whole believing system and becoming the one that doesn't like alcohol. And you would need to really become the one that doesn't like alcohol or doesn't like overeating when you want to lose weight, right? So you kind of cannot be the same person. So the whole philosophy has to be built around during this time of weight loss, so sustainability can happen. So if we don't have philosophy behind, if we don't have certain knowledge behind building what we are doing and what we are doing, and if we don't have spirituality behind, we will not be able to sustain. You can take a person and cut off 40 pounds of fat, right? Mm-hmm. That's extreme. And then send the person home. What's going to happen, right? The person will eat the same way as ate before. So in order to really help people, you cannot really create, like you said, about this force, kind of force sometimes for some time. Like, let's say, let's do the startup, 7 days we'll do on the juices, right? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's going to happen? After 7 days, we don't drink the juices and we will be, we'll drink a little bit juice, yeah. We'll learn, we'll adapt this to our life. It doesn't work that way, really. It's like we return back to our mm-hmm. way of living. So yeah. How to deal with it, how to change it, you have to slowly, gracefully change the virtues and ritual of daily life. Your daily life has to start becoming the way that you want it to be forever. So you want to create that ritual, that daily way of living mm-hmm. that is going to support your life forever. It's like not something you cannot live the life of a fixer. You fix your problem, and the problem is lifestyle problem. So if you fix, let's say, weight loss, you take pills and lose weight, then the lifestyle returns. So in order to mm-hmm. really fix something in your life that is a condition and depend on the lifestyle, you really have to change that lifestyle, not by force, but by genuine, graceful build-up of the virtues around that one. That's mm-hmm. one that you want to become. Yeah,
and you are an expert in Olympic weightlifting and movement with the Happy Body program. You've been teaching weightlifting for decades. You're a world record holder. And you're a champion in Olympic weightlifting, and so it seems like you've mastered those routines and mindsets. But you've been pretty open about struggling with alcohol earlier in your life, having an unhealthy relationship with alcohol when you started lifting. And when I started lifting seriously back in college, I was also a much heavier drinker, probably had a bit of an unhealthy relationship with alcohol. Can you tell the story of how you got introduced to Olympic weightlifting? I remember hearing it was someone at a bar introduced you to it. Can you tell that story and give an overview of how weightlifting came into your life and that battle of the new habit with weightlifting and also the relationship with drinking you had at the time?
Well, I experienced really extreme bullying when I was in elementary school. So I was probably 10, 11, 12. So experienced a lot of bullying. And bullying on streets. When I walk to my school, it was not really far, maybe 300 yards. But these 300 yards were really tough because the gangs were, I had to pass gangs and boys that didn't go to school anymore, bigger, and they would sometimes, they wanted money, right? So they would sometimes search us and get money, hit us, and so on, right? It was on a daily basis. And then in school, there were different bullies too. So teachers were bullies, and other students were bullies. So experienced bullying a lot. So when I was 13, I thought that I had to do something about that. So I really look into weightlifting, but it's a normal, not weightlifting. It was like lifting weights, like bodybuilding kind of.
Okay, so not like the Olympic style lifting.
No, that was not like that. And then I went to high school. Somehow I survived the elementary school. I was 15 years old, and then I survived the elementary school, and then I got myself into best high school in Stargard in a city that I lived, and then that high school was really tough, but I was really science oriented, math and physics, chemistry, so I was able to pass the exams and get myself there. But when I got myself there, the passing again this time, so this 300 yards, now it became half a mile around, right, to go to high school. And somehow the boys took me over and were able to drag me away from the school. And then slowly I didn't do my homework, and I was not able to sustain the high school. And then that was it. I lost about 2 months after I lost the high school, and I quit, and then was not able to.
You dropped out?
Yeah, drop out, and I'm drinking heavy. So my drinking began, and my drinking escalated. I went to this trade school and was learning how to do the metal work, like locksmith, building locks, and kind of was interesting. But then we work 3 days, and then 3 days was studying. Studying was very easy for me, and then the more boys were around that drank. So after we left school, we were drinking. So then after about 6-8 months, I was not able even to sustain that, and became alcoholic completely, 100%, right? Means didn't go to school, didn't work, and I started really drinking. And every day when I came out of the house, I was just thinking about how to get money to drink. It's like an addict, right? And every day, somehow we found this alcohol. And every day I had blackouts and sometimes lost 2-3 days. And it was like that for until I was 18. And when I was 18, we had this, went to this bar, like, not a bar, but kind of a place when we were, drinking. Yeah, it's kind of like a bar. And there was a boy there, Mirek, and he was saying that his mother threw his equipment out of the house. Oh, they were all athletes, kind of, lifting weights, bodybuilders, track and field athletes. And somehow we sat together, we alcoholics sat near them and kind of blended because we know each other. So, and drinking together. So, Mirek said that his mother threw his equipment out of the house. So, I was an alcoholic. I said, well, you come to my house and you can train there. Okay. So next day, I woke up, right, already drunk at about 3 p.m. because somebody knocking at the window. And my house was very close to the street, so it was very close to the pavement when people could walk and actually could knock on the windows. He was knocking. And I opened the window. I said, what are you doing here? And he said, well, you told me to bring my equipment. I didn't remember this at all. So I said, I told you to bring the equipment. He had all the bars and weights, plates, everything. So I said, it's okay, bring it in. So he placed all these bars inside, dumbbells, and, it's just barbells, everything, what he had. And I said, okay, you can do your stuff and I have to take a nap. And he said, no, let's get into the workout a little bit. I was very weak. It was already almost 3 years of drinking. And he said, no, let's go. Let's do a little bit. And then we go have a beer. When I had a beer, I look, I said, beer? I said, yeah. Beer for me was somebody's going to pay for my beer, right?
Yeah, it's the best post workout.
Yeah, it was a really good
nice
one.
Beer.
Yeah. He didn't even know that he did what he did.
Yeah.
So we did a little bit bench and then we went for a beer. And it kind of day by day it was going like that, and slowly was moving that way. That's why here idea of the mentor, idea of somebody that through the lifestyle is building you different lifestyle is important, right? So he day by day and month by month, I was getting stronger and stronger, and kind of we drank less, and I remember the days it was that way, and eventually brought us to that I was drinking, but I was not drinking so much, and I was able to train. Then
was it more that you hated drinking that made you slow down, or was it that you wanted to continue to progress at weightlifting and you knew that if you kept drinking at the same pace, it would hurt your results?
No, at this time, it was happening to me. So I didn't have any conscious activity about that it was hurting any progress. It was just somehow it was happening that I was drinking less because Mirek was drinking certain amount, and I was mimicking more him, and I like him. So it was more mimicking somebody that you like. And during this mimicking, it was I was becoming Mirek, and then slowly he was saving my life without knowing that he was doing that.
Okay, so you looked up to Mirek, and he was drinking less, and so that sparked something inside you to want to be better and in a sense drink less as well.
Yeah, and we were walking through the city and visiting different places, cafes, and like a normal activity during the day in the evening. And so I didn't even have opportunity to drink somehow more because I was with him. So we were moving around, and then other athletes were joining us, and kind of I hang out more with those that had the athletic lifestyle and not that was that they were alcoholics.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was in a different place physically.
Yeah, that's. I had a friend, Lawrence. He passed away a couple years ago, unfortunately, but he used to work in the building that I worked at, and he was jacked, like he was cut up. He would close the highest strength of those forearm grippers, like his forearms were huge, veiny, like, and I would always talk to him about diet and working out, and he got me into intermittent fasting and meditation, which are probably the two most influential habits on my mind and body that I've adopted. And it started as this admiration for him because of how he seemed so in tune with his diet and working out, and just watching him just like effortlessly close those forearm grippers. I was like, holy shit, like I want to do what this guy does. And so it sounds like it was something similar with your friend.
Right. And, when you like something like that, when you actually respond, right, and that the unity, happens, and then you pick up the ball, right, and you want to play that game. And it's like you experience some kind of the same thing, but it's like a months are passing, right? And you are within, and you slowly change. It's a kind of micro progression in action, and you becoming a different person. And you cannot become a different person like that without somehow going through a journey. And I understand this 12-step program, right, for alcoholics, because it's kind of they had to go from a journey too, and they have these people to support them on a journey, right? And so they don't want to drink, they are sober, but they need also a journey of years to sustain, to build the strength to and resist drinking. And so for me, it was happening from this suicidal and almost gone person. Slowly, I was becoming the one that started liking, lifting weights, and liking hang out with people who had something to say, and the people that kind of control life, and the life for them was constructive life, that they had things to do and they do those things, and then I started liking that way. And also I was becoming stronger and stronger and stronger, right? So that eventually led to the place where I was so strong that I started seeing that I could switch to Olympic weightlifting from bodybuilding, because mostly we were doing bodybuilding. It was what we were doing with Mirek. And we were doing this for about 7-8 months. After 7 and 8 months, I didn't drink at all at that point. Almost at all. Only drank sometimes. And then something happened. I switched into Olympic weightlifting. I started really going to seeing the team in Szczecin and joining the Olympic weightlifting team. And Mirek was doing still bodybuilding, so I trained with him a little bit. And then Olympic weightlifting was shifting towards something that I really was possessed by, which was Olympic weightlifting. And I then, I somehow love the power of lifting heavy weights very fast, like what Olympic weightlifting is, and I was drawn by it. And because of Olympic weightlifting became such a huge challenge that the whole my lifestyle was arranged by it. So, for example, if my friends were going to a party and I would go with them, but in the morning I couldn't train the way that I wanted to train, then I didn't go anymore to the party. So I started learning how to live according to Olympic weightlifting.
Yeah.
Because it was so challenging, and it was so disciplined, and it was so there was no way that you could progress unless you lived certain way. And I started really living that way, living that, really high discipline way. And I would do actually anything to progress, to get better, and to break records and so on. So it's interesting mindset of a person that the person will do anything to get better within that, and it's actually a good thing. So when I met Anila, my wife, so at a certain point we discussed the values that we have in life, what is first, what is second. So yeah. I told her, well, the bar is the first thing in my life. So you
told your you were dating at the time, I assume.
Yes, yeah. It's just like 2-3 months, right?
You told your girlfriend at the time, this is the bar and this is you.
No, not yet. So the bar, my mother, my friend, and you.
Wow. So how did
what an obstacle, right? Really terrible.
I like your style. How did she react to that? How did she react to that?
Well, she was very graceful, and she knew that I was not really that person, really. But physically in life at that time, I was shifted later on in life, and she used to say, I always saw the person that you are becoming. You knew that you had that one in you, right? Yeah. So you are becoming that person now.
Yeah, it's funny because I never had that same conversation with my girlfriend or my family, but I do have things like a prioritized list that I need to do and I want to do, like meditation, like lifting, eating relatively well. There are things that make me the person I am. And if I stop doing those things, my girlfriend's not going to like me anymore, or my family's not going to like me anymore. So it's like you have to have those things that you protect with your mind and body. And the people that love you hopefully understand that the reason why your relationship is working, or the reason why you treat people so well, is because you treat yourself well. And it sounds cliche, but like if I go a week or two without meditating, or if I don't work out for a couple of weeks, like I genuinely do feel like a shittier person. I feel like I treat people worse than I would if I otherwise stayed with those routines that I know are good for me.
So you see, the meditation is priority, right? So it's something that you will not compromise. It means, right? There's no way.
100%.
That you will compromise. You will not do it, right? So
no matter who's in my life, relationship, family, friends, meditation in the morning 100% helps me operate at a fundamental level as a better, more fulfilled person. So that's something I'm not willing to compromise.
So in a way, you don't have to tell people that meditation is above your mother, right? But
it would be funny.
Your mother will tell you, stop meditation, you will simply not stop. So in a way, it is, right? So I was, when my mother was frying meat, and and I was eating, and during the lifting, sometimes I throw out and acid would come up, and my coach said, tell your mom to put your meat into the soup instead of frying, and you just eat that piece.
Yeah.
Well, my mother was very proud. So when I went to my mom, I said, Mom, when I train, this happens. So could you put my piece in meat into the soup? She said, you don't like my cooking? I said, no, I like your cooking. No, I always like your cooking. But, it's just this thing. If you don't like my cooking, you out, right? You go to a restaurant. I said, okay, Mom. Yeah. You want me to go and eat in restaurants? I will. So, you see, this is the response that I would not compromise. I would not simply keep eating that way. I had to do it because Olympic weightlifting would not get better. So, very clear, it is not that, Olympic weightlifting is more important than mother, but in this situation, it's like, in that situation, I would not give my Olympic weightlifting because my mother is telling me that, right? So no way.
Yeah.
So I was eating outside of the house for 3 weeks, and my mother was hanging around really and cooking, and I saw her struggle and really. And then after 3 weeks, my mother was in the kitchen and she said, Jurek is the nickname for Jerzy. So she said, okay, you can come home and I will put your meat into the soup. I said, well, thank you, Mom. So I came back and I was eating meat that it was in the soup. But it took my mom 3 weeks to adapt to that. And we have our ways, emotional ways of being proud of certain things. My mother was very proud of her, and she was good in things. So, and she was also proud. So, and she was a mother that kind of a king of the family.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. To go back to alcohol for a bit. You seem like you have a much more healthy relationship with alcohol and fitness together. You talked about the 1 drink rule. You very social guy. Do you have any tips or any insights on how to work out without letting the alcohol compromise what you're doing on a day-to-day basis? Because there are a lot of people listening to this, like myself, in their 20s or 30s that are in the prime of their going out years. The pandemic definitely put a cap on that, but there are a lot of people that are in the prime of their social years. Do you have any advice for people that want to work out but also want to drink in a way that won't compromise the benefits that they see from lifting or running, whatever it is that they do?
I coach a lot of students how to drink, actually. So,
really?
Oh yeah. Well,
I would have taken that class in college. How to Drink 101 with Jerzy Gregorek.
Yeah, I coach a lot of students from different universities on Zoom and in person. And drinking, they simply communicated to me over and over, we will drink, right? And you helped me how to make it happen so it is conscious, right? It is not unconscious. So it is planned and how. Because over and over, they told me the same thing. They tell me the same thing. I drink 3-4 times a week, right? And when I drink 5 or 6 drinks. I said, holy moly, right? That's really drinking, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so my approach was always, because the people that I work with, they want to also stay certain body type, so that it's like Olympic weightlifting, is that follows certain consequences and follows certain rules. So consequences don't happen. So consequences are like you gain weight if you eat too much, but if you drink, that's a lot of food. So how to deal with it? So first I would need to expose, drinking and drinking as calories as food. Then how much of it? So teaching now somebody that is a student at the college to actually be conscious about drinking, it's a masterpiece.
Yeah, no, it really is. It really is.
It's a very interesting way to approach. The first thing that I would need to set up is that micro progression toward drinking less and less over time. So I said, okay, let's get this week, and then how many drinks you drinking during the week, during the day when you go to the party? 5. I'll say, okay, so would 4 drinks be okay? Yeah? When you say, 4 or 5, say, okay. So I said, okay, so you will go during this week and you will be drinking 4. And not 5, 4. And you count them and try to drink that, in time. So let's say how much time you spend at the party. Let's say 4 hours. So 1 hour for 1 drink. Then if you have a beer, a lot of them drink beer. A lot of them drink this new vodka in a bottle. Forgot the name.
Like a hard seltzer, White Claw.
Yeah, White Claw, right.
White Claws,
I've never even heard about this, right? So,
yep, dude, it's easy to drink like 7 or 8 of those without even thinking about it because they taste so good.
Exactly. So my client says, she says, I drink White Claw. I said, what is it? I've never heard of White Claw. I said, no? What is White Claw? This drink, I will bring you. So she brought me next time this drink, right? The bottle. And I opened, smell it. It was horrible. It was just smell even horrible, right? And then I tasted horrible. So I said, okay, I will teach you how to make a drink. Mm-hmm. So we went to the kitchen and I took the Belvedere vodka, pour in, and squeezed whole lemon in, added a little bit sparkling water. It's like a gimlet, but without the juices on the lime or lemon.
So like a vodka soda almost.
But very strong lemon. So it's like a foggy. I call it foggy. And I said, okay, drink it. So she tasted. Wow, it's really good. I say, yeah, it is good. It's a lot better than the other one. So I said, well, when you go to the party, you take the bottle of vodka and go to the party and then make people drinks, right? First, you can drink a little bit better, right? The better alcohol. But if you want to drink these bottles, you have to pace yourself. First is a beer or White Claw, whatever you drink, you have to pace yourself. First thing. So within 1 hour, you have 1 drink. Yeah, 4 hours.
You can't get your second drink until the first hour is up.
Exactly. So when I go, I lowered my drinking to 1 drink only when I am in anywhere wherever I go, unless I am in wedding or something that maybe I will have 2. But 1 drink, I go to let's say to a dinner. And I order this one: green tea, sparkling water, and my drink. So when I drink off, I will pour sparkling water in. So my glass, my glass stays always full. Mm-hmm. So it dilutes alcohol. I feel good. I feel kind of happy, but not overwhelming to other people. So I will not say mean things to people. so,
Yep.
I'm good.
Mean
And
things
I
to
don't have
people.
to-
Mean
yeah.
things to people that you won't remember.
Yeah, or next day I would have to apologize for being certain way.
Yeah.
So when I stay with one drink, I'm really good. Now, prevents me from being an asshole after one drink. When I drink free, I'm an asshole becoming really. I have to say something mean. So no free drinks for me. One, but then when I replace dilute all that constantly the drink, that the drink becomes weaker and weaker, eventually sparkling water. But the message is to the waiter is that when the glass is full, so
he won't ask you or she won't ask you.
Yeah, you want another one, right? Get on because it's full. So that is a technique in during the dinners, and I use. But coming back to our students, so then I teach them how to do the 4, and then for a week or 2, and then they are comfortable with the 4. They come back and say, "How was 4? Well, it's good, no difference, right?" So then we go with the 3 and we go with the 2. Eventually, it comes to the point that it becomes one drink, and they're able to drink one drink and spend 3 hours on that one drink and be okay with it.
Yeah.
It takes time, but the lowering the down and slowly just building micro progression to drink less, watch it, observe it, adapt to it, accumulate certain way of dealing with it. It starts working really well.
Yeah, it's funny because in school, back in college, we would make fun of people who only had 1 or 2 drinks and they felt it. We call them a 2-beer queer. Like, you're a 2-beer queer. You can get you can get drunk off of 2 beers. And now that I'm drinking much less and much less frequently, I like being able to feel a buzz off of a vodka or 2 vodkas because I'm like I feel satisfied more that I'm drinking less and still feeling it. And something I would do towards the end of my college baseball career when I knew we had something, whether it was a game or practice next day or a couple days, and I wanted to feel good, is I would switch off vodka sodas with just a soda because I wanted to have something in my hand and I wanted it to look like a vodka soda. I didn't want people to know I wasn't drinking, but I still wanted to have something in my hand and sip on it. So maybe I would have 4 drinks that night over a few hours, but only 2 of them would have vodka in it. So I go vodka soda, just soda, vodka soda, just soda, like club soda, so it was no calories or anything like that. And I always felt great and didn't really feel anything noticeable the next day when I woke up. I was always like, oh, like I had a good time and I feel good now. And I kind of stuck to that and still do sometimes.
Yeah, well, it's I tell also people that they have to move around, so you cannot be watched. Yeah, so if you move around, people lose the capability of watching you and knowing how much you drink and so on.
Yeah.
It's very personal for society that you do the same as they. So it's in a way cultural. I read at a certain point an article about cultural obesity. That when you are about obese people, you have to behave like that. You have to eat as much as they eat, right? So there is a cultural way of corrupting others to be the same as the culture is.
Yeah.
So,
it's a weird thing. It's like if someone's buying shots at a bar, everyone has to do the shot or else you're the outcast or something's wrong with you
that's a
in
tough
some
one
way.
because they are watching you, right?
Yeah, it's like this, but then as the night goes on, people get more and more drunk, and then their perception goes down. They may think that you're bombed, and they don't even realize it, that you're sober. And so I feel like there is a point where people stop noticing, but at the beginning, when everyone's kind of getting there and you're not drinking as much, you're definitely the outcast. It's like, what's wrong with this person? They're not getting super fucked up.
I mean, you know, the way to deal with it is like with the happy body and controlling, because the happy body is self-control, and control the food is not a diet, but controlling. Let's say you're 120 pounds, you stay 120 pounds no matter what, right? Mm-hmm. So you control that body weight, and now you can have different strategies, different plans. You know, we have a plan, but you have a lot of strategies how to stay this 120 forever. So, but drinking is the part of it that usually how students engage with me. They want to control the body weight, and they want to drink. So here is one of the ways, you know, I tell them, you know, if you want to go and drink, right, then you have about 3 choices. You know, you will drink one drink and eat something, and then eat a little bit something less, so you know how calories work already around that. Mm-hmm. Or you have 2 drinks and eat very little, or you have 3 drinks and you don't eat anything, right? Yeah. You are just drinking that night, and then you have 3 drinks. After, when we come back with people that they drink 6 or 7 and bring them to 3, right? And then once you bring people to 3 drinks in the evening, then you can then bring them to the 3 scenarios. You can have a drink and a dinner, right? Good, nice dinner. You can have 2 drinks, eat very little, or you just have 3 beers during the night, and that's all you got. Now, how you're conscious about that, and how you move around, and how you watch other people, because they are kind of watching you, but they are not watching. And then at a certain point, they are just drinking, and they don't care whether you drink or not. And you're right, there is a certain point that they are watching. But usually, you know, parties are the way that people are moving around. So I always tell my students, move around. Move around. You talk to a lot of people, a little bit here, a little bit there, so people don't see you. Once it's like you would watch a soccer game and you would watch one player, right? When you watch one player, then you really see that player and what that player is doing. Yeah. So, you know, in a way, you could also watch people that way. You can focus on one and just, you know, like a writer, learn about somebody and be interested about this one or that one or that one. So you have something to do. The more conscious we are, the better it is. As soon as you lose your conscious way, why you are there, you don't have a plan, you don't have any strategy, then you become unconscious, and, you know, everything goes.
So you mentioned using micro progressions with your students for drinking, and I know that micro progressions are a huge part of the Happy Body program. Could you explain to people that may not be familiar with it, what is the Happy Body program, and how does it combine micro progressions and movement to allow people to move and live better? What is the Happy Body?
So the Happy Body was created to give people complete independence and control over exercise, diet, or eating, meditation, so a whole lifestyle. So the purpose was very clear about that. So when you take it, you will learn the exercises independently. These are your exercises, and you will do them forever. But then you will understand also that these exercises have to give you flexibility, strength, and posture, and losing weight and controlling the body weight, and being lean. Well, usually people want all those things. And the whole system provides this for you. It gives you completely independent way from anybody else to create that. I really liked the idea that somebody buy my book, somebody that lives somewhere and is alone in the room and doesn't like his or her way of living, and then buys the Happy Body book and creates this better way of living for himself, herself, and nobody knows about it. So that was my, I was inspired by that. When I was driving through San Francisco, near San Francisco, I saw all these houses up there on hills. And I was just thinking, imagine that. I was talking to Angela that somebody will buy the book and will create this lifestyle independently from anybody else, right? And we'll have whole transparency, how to exercise, how to eat to control the weight, how to lose weight, how to gain weight, how to gain muscle, how to correct the posture. And all of it can happen without anybody else. Well, that's became the Happy Body. So the Happy Body has this 18 exercises, the physical that really corrects everything what physically we would like to have to live a better life. So helps you with flexibility, strength, speed, better posture, and gain muscle. As you know, gain muscle is very important when we age, because aging is really muscle loss. So to have a program that would help people to actually gain muscle is crucial in life. That's why no running marathons and no machines and doing endurance training when you get older, because that's how we actually lose muscle. Mm-hmm. So the Happy Body is this, skill of living a better life overall with everything you could think about. It's even philosophy. We are building now better philosophy, better way of thinking, writing books and dialogues and poems. And because, as you know, you could have a great plan, great idea, but if you cannot deliver the idea for yourself, right, it's not going to be or work, right?
So it's a progression of 18 different movements?
Well, the micro progression is built, let's say, within the flexibility. Let's say you can squat only to the 20 inches right box or a chair, and you can only squat without leaning forward and raising your heels off the ground. And your flexibility is really only for that. If you want to squat deeper, you will compromise. So, okay, you start with 20 inches. Now, you start with 20 inches and then you start working every day, because you do the Happy Body every day. And then after a week or two, you start to be very comfortable with the 20 inches. So when you give yourself enough time to be comfortable and to be flexible, you are. So then you can drop to 19 inches or 19 and a half or 19 and 3/4. Now, it depends whether you have pains or not. A lot of people have a lot of pains in hips, knees, and ankles and spine. So let's say so it depends who you are and how you adapt to that, right? So micro progression will work for you in a different way. So when, let's say you have a lot of pain in your hip, and then you squat to the 20 inches, it's tolerable, you're okay. And you keep doing this for 3 weeks, it's still there. So you keep working with this 20 inch. And then after 5 weeks, it's gone, right? You don't have pain. It's not there. It's the body adapted to that. So then you drop to 19 inches, and now you have pain back, and you have a lot of that. So that's not good. You go back to 20. You come back to that place, no pain, and then you drop to 19 and 3/4. So micro progression now works for you that way. You adapt this micro change that actually your body could adapt. So now you are doing 19 and 3/4, and you do it for 3-4 weeks, and then you adapt it to that. Then you have 19 and a half, and you keep doing that until eventually you come to the full squat capability. The same works with...
These movements build strength and flexibility as you're progressing, as you're going through the
lifting. Yeah, you're lifting weights too during the same time. So you are building flexibility or building strength. The same thing is with the bending down. When you bend down, well, a lot of people are stiff, as you know, and they cannot touch the ground.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now, if you cannot touch the ground and you're, let's say, 12 inches off the ground, then you put the box there, and then when you do certain exercises, you only go to that level. So you don't pass that level, because if you pass that level and your flexibility is not ready for it, you will compromise or you hurt yourself. So now you have to build this micro-progressive system that adapts your body to the challenge, but the challenge has to be micro each time, and you have to give yourself enough time for the body to adapt to that level.
And so this is something you do every day.
And you do it every day, right? So
about how long does it? About how long does it take to go through all 18 movements?
30 minutes.
30 minutes.
You imagine now you do 30 minutes, 18 exercises that cover any possible move of the body, and then and develops mobility in every joint, and make muscle stronger, make muscle bigger, and that's amazing thing, right? Because that's what we want, right?
Yeah. So if someone came to you and said, I want to do the full happy body routine in the morning, but for whatever reason, they only had maybe 10, 15 minutes, somewhere between 5 and 15 minutes to get in a movement routine in the morning, what would you say to someone who came to you that maybe they drop their kids off at school or get it ready, all these things, where they only have a short period of time in the morning? Is there a group of exercises you would recommend within it, or would you, what would you say to that person?
Well, you do, at the beginning, you do 18 exercises, but you repeat twice. So, and 3 times if you're really good. So if, let's say, it takes you 10 minutes to go through all the exercises, right? And you do 3 times that. So you can do only 1 round through and then be okay with that. Also, I tell people never rush. So never, because the training is it's a mindful training. It develops singularity of the brain, it's stress release, follow certain breathing patterns. So mindfulness is a big part of it. So the happy body is a way of doing, it's almost like you would meditate throughout the whole 30 minutes. But if you have 10 minutes, let's say, so I tell people just go until the same way as you would do 30 minutes, but at the 10 minutes you stop. And how much you've done, you're done. And then that day is done for you. But never try to do more in short periods of time, because then you will create anxiety, that you will rush, and it's simply not good for the body and not good for the mind.
Yeah. My first introduction to you, I believe it might have been an Instagram post from Tim Ferriss, where he had shared a quote from you. He shared a quote, I believe it was from his interview with you a couple years ago, and you had said, hard choices, easy life, easy choices, hard life. And the happy body, along with a lot of the things you do physically and Olympic weightlifting, also the restrictions with drinking and teaching college students how to live better, it seems like it falls in line with the hard choices, easy life, easy choices, hard life. Is there a choice that stands out recently that was a harder choice for you to make but in the long term, it made your life easier? Something that stands out recently that would kind of fall in line with that mantra?
Well, I pick up hard choices all the time, right? So
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah, I know there are a lot. Any just like anything that stands out, like a specific example of a hard choice that maybe you do every day, or something that makes your life easier over the long term.
I will tell you my story about poetry then.
Yeah.
Okay? So we hired a writer in about 91 or 92 to write the Happy Body book. And the writer spent about half a year, I think, maybe more, and gave us kind of a rough draft. And it was horrible. It was really horrible for us. Anila said, no, that's really bad, right?
Yeah.
You know, that's okay. We hired another one. It's not like ghostwriting, right? Kind of.
Yeah.
And another wrote, and it was horrible too. So I said, you know what? We have to learn how to write, and we have to probably write it. Nobody's going to write that book for us.
Yeah.
So then I applied to Vermont College in 95. And I sent in creative writing, but in poetry. And it looks like my way of writing was poetry. And it's I go back to Sweden when I left Poland. I was 85 in Sweden. And because of Jerzy Popiełuszko and this Unconditional Love and becoming really a good person, good energy, you know, when I was in Sweden, and there was a lot of depression and a lot of fight for being united with other families. So a lot of Poles were on hunger strikes and in front of the Polish embassy in Stockholm. And it was really hard everywhere. And I try to help people and talk to them and start meeting people, and whatever I was doing was helping. And there was this psychologist that Vanda Sai that I helped too, and then she said, you know, it would be good if I opened in Stockholm the clinic, and then you will do what you do, because you're doing something that is helping people, and I don't know what is it and how it is, so maybe I can learn that. But they said, well, I'm going to US, I'm not going to stay in Stockholm, sorry. And then she said, well, then, you know, then you have to write. I said, why to write? I said, well, because you have something to say, and then you have to write it. But they said, I've never written anything. And they said, well, you go home and you write. So when I went home and I stared into a blank page, eventually I started writing on it. And whatever really on that page became a poem. So I didn't know how to write, normal sentences. My writing was form itself. My messages form itself as a poem. So that was the beginning of my poetry. So we are coming to 95, and I'm sending my 10 poems to Vermont, and I was rejected. So then I called next day, and I talked to somebody, and a person from admission said that I cannot. I asked to talk to somebody that rejected my poetry, and she said, well,
"You called the admission. You called the admissions office to ask why you rejected."
I want to talk to someone, and she said that cannot be done. And then I said, "Oh, okay, I will explain myself." Then that I want to work on my writing, and I want to improve it. And I want to know how to improve it, because next year I'm going to reapply And then following year, I will do the same thing until you accept me. But I have to know how to improve myself. I just need guidelines. And somehow she understood that. Next day, Dean called me. And it was amazing. And I talked, and it was very helpful. Yeah. He helped me, Roger Weingarten helped me to get together with some people in LA that could help me with my process. So I was going through seeing different people, and eventually I met Peter. And then when I met Peter, this Zen master and a teacher of a poet, and so he was a Zen master and a poet. So Peter came to Peter, and Peter was running at that time workshops in LA, poetry workshops, and nobody really was doing this, but Peter was doing this. And I also joined Beyond Baroque, the poetry group in LA. And I came to Peter with my 100 poems. And I had 100 poems, right? Mm-hmm. And
so this is like your life's work at this point.
Yeah, it was 10 years, right? Because it's 85, now it's 95.
Yeah.
So, but I was proud of it a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I gave Peter, and Peter looked at the first page, about 1 second, in the middle, maybe a second, in the last, maybe a second, and he threw everything to the ground and says, it's all garbage.
So he looked at it for 3 seconds, 10 years of what you had written, and he said, this is garbage.
It's all garbage. And it was shocking for me because, and he was not talking. He was just looking at me, my reaction. And I was thinking, and I was silenced. But, I was lucky because at the same time, a week ago, a coach from Colorado University sent a pole vaulter to me with a letter. And he came to me when I coached at the UCLA weightlifting team. I had a team there. And he came to me with a letter, and I read the letter. And then he was asking me to take him over with Olympic weightlifting, help him with building more power. So I said, okay, so could you do the snatch? I want to see where you are. And then he did one snatch. I said, okay, that's enough. And he said, I can do more. No, that's enough. So you see, I needed only 1 second.
Yeah.
1 second. I knew what is his technique. I knew how he was trained. I knew what needs to be done, and so on and so on. I just needed 1 second, one move, and it was enough for me. So I got it, right? So when Peter kind of saw that I'm really okay with it, right? He said, okay, it's going to be like that. In 5 years, maybe you will write some sentences. In 10 years, maybe you write a poem. In 15 years, you will know about writing. In 20, maybe you will be a poet. Do you want to start? So he gave me 20 years, right? Mm-hmm. I said, sure, in 20 years, I want to know if I'm a poet.
Yeah.
So I am on a journey for 20 years with Peter, right? It started in 95, but 96, I was accepted to Vermont. And in 98, I graduated with MFA in creative writing. And Anila followed the same pattern with what I was doing. And then in 95, so 2015 was 20 years. So I published 3 books of poetry and wrote all the time through. Also started with Peter for 20 years. That's kind of a micro progression and building something that you're becoming something, becoming this you're becoming poetry, right? That's your easy choice, kind of easy life, because you're becoming that thing. And it takes time. It takes a lot of years to become. Today, I opened a book of poetry, somebody's poetry, and it takes me a second, right, to look at it. I can read 2 or 3 words. It's just amazing, and I feel it, or I don't feel it. Right away, I know it. Can you share? No, you cannot share that. Nobody can know. So I always tell people, you can only see backward. You can see backward what is wrong with the technique, but not forward. So, you can only look backward at life and correct something what you know how to correct, but you never know how to correct forward.
So this guy, Peter, who's an expert in poetry, was able to look at your work in a few seconds and see everything about it. And then you did the same thing to the kid who sent you the video from Colorado University. You could see his snatch form, and in a few seconds, your expertise in weightlifting allowed you to see everything about him, like how he trained, what he needed to work on, things like that.
It's juxtapose me with something. So I started working on that lifter, right? And spent years on his training and then building micro progression and building him as a better lifter. But micro progression is extremely important here, because if you want to go a little bit faster than you can, you will break. So, and you will never achieve really what you need to achieve. So you have to have sustainability, and you have to have hard choice in a way that all the time you make it better a little bit. So you have to somehow progress, but you cannot progress too fast. There was this Russian coach that said, I need 10 years to make a national champion. If I don't have 10 years, I will never make one. Because I will break that one before. So it takes time, and during this time, you have to have these micro changes that contribute to the constant adaptations and growth of something, like, growing money, right? You invest money and you for retirement, and it takes 30, 40 years, and then you have it when you retire. But it's a micro-progressive system. But we are not teaching this micro-progressive system. We are not really doing that. And then it's really hard to, at the beginning, to give, time and effort, because if you want to make something better than ever, right, before, it will be effort, and it will be a hard choice, always. And that always changes. So when we knew that 2 + 1 is 3, but we didn't know that 2 + 2 is 4, it took from teachers and others time to teach us that 2 + 2 is 4, so we could figure this out on our own. So it's a constant hard choices in mathematics to know more and another step, and more and more and more. And it ends sometimes. It only ends when we end. But if we don't end, we go to MIT or we go to university and we study mathematics and something else, and we go to computer science, and then we write programs, and we are constantly evolving. In a way, it's a combination of the easy life that is becoming, but the hard choice is always there.
Yeah. So I wanted to jump off of poetry a little bit and dive into the connection between poetry and weightlifting, because you've managed to make money and make a living in 2 areas that are notoriously hard to do that, in fitness and also in poetry. what advice would you give to a young person who wanted to make a living in the fitness industry, make a living in the creative industry like poetry, or possibly both? What advice would you have to a young person who wanted to make that happen?
I think that you have to prioritize first, which one is a kind of a way of living, right? And for me, way of living became, weightlifting and building the happy body. It was that. Poetry became the supportive, another career was supportive to that. So you have to, if you're an artist, right? If you're an artist, then you will be the artist. The art will drive your way of living. And then I think that we need the two things that we should always pursue. One is this art thing, and the other one is the science. So the science is, it can be, any knowledge that is needed to understand life, to comprehend what we are. That's kind of a philosophy and science. But physically, we are physically to experience the world. Yeah, we are physically experiencing the world through our feelings and through our attitudes in life, and that's where art is needed. That's where, and usually how we make our choices and decisions, we make them because of our feelings and not because of our thinking, our mental powers, right? We feel strongly about something, and that drives our choices. And sometimes it is really, our feelings are, not good feelings. And because of that, we are driven to alcohol, we are driven to addictions, and we cannot stop it. It's really hard to stop that, right? So poetry now is really can help to develop this space that you can accept hard choices, you can accept what is difficult for you. So in a way, to have poetry in your life would help you to create this space and to agree to life, to agree to what is really in life a hard choice, how to recognize it, how to choose it, and how to be okay with it, and how not to complain. Because complaining is this bad feeling in us that we want to complain. We want to blame, right? But because of that, it's comfortable to be angry, right? So, but these things are the feelings that are not really virtues of our life. So the poetry helps to choose eventually within you, to choose the poem in which in the poem a person becomes the goodness, chooses something what is a hard thing to do. And when you read a poem like that, or you write a poem, then you're actually becoming something a little bit better version of yourself with every poem. So it's kind of a micro progression, but also it is the process of evolving, process of becoming a better person and accepting hard choices on the way that are necessary for becoming a better person.
Yeah, I had one more question for you. I want to respect your time because we're coming up on 2 hours. I had a question for you about relationships, with a relationship-based question. What does date night look like for you and your wife, Aniela? Because you've been together for over 40 years. I just got into a relationship myself, which hopefully is long-lasting and fulfilling. What does date night look like for you and Aniela? And what do you have anything that you would want to say to someone in the beginning of a relationship to keep that spark and to keep that mind as the relationship progresses?
Well, what happened with us is that we both were building the happy body. So we were both involved in constant discussion about it. We both were doing weightlifting, and we both were doing the happy body, and poetry. So we both translated poetry, and translated about 10 books of poetry, and both were translating the same poems, shaping the same poems, translating them. And interesting thing what was happening is that we debated a lot. We fought a lot. Fought about for the comma to be there or not, for the word, the different word. And our neighbors were thinking that we are really fighting, but we were debating about very loud about whether to use this word, trying to figure out different and so on. But so one thing that is with us, we are on this constant journey of evolving. So you have to have something that drives you crazy, and you want to make it better all the time. You never stop until you die. So I'm writing a new book now, and she's writing her book, and then we discuss this, and we're constantly kind of helping each other and discussing those facts. During the day, we train together. We go to the gym and do Olympic weightlifting. We do the happy body separately, but we do Olympic weightlifting together. So we go for tea to Pete's Coffee together, and we drive there every day. We would drive because we like to walk. We like cafes. We go to Starbucks or we go to Pete's Coffee, and we have our bars. We make our bar, and I eat my bar, and I drink tea, green tea or coffee. Aniela likes coffee. I'm not so much anymore, but we sit outside in the sun or not, right inside, and then we have this time together. Constantly with ourselves. But during this time is always the hard choice. We are building the web, we are building the happy body, we are listening to people, what they want and how they want. So we are constantly evolved in making something better. This hard choice is present every day. During the day we cook together, we drink together, or Aniela cooks and I make smoothies, or she makes ginger juice. So we have all these things going, and we love dinners. So we love invite people for dinners. We have certain couples that we like, so they come, and then we drink together. We have fun, and we eat, and we have a really good life. But it's I think in the relationship, you have to something in common that you never stop making better together. And, I don't know what that could be for people, but mimicking other people is a good thing. So when you meet a person and the person dislikes you or not like you, so it's not going to be good for the relationship, right? So, mimicking is one of the Stoics' way to really to build a good relationship, so that the relationship survives. I think that in order for the relationship to survive, you have to pick up something that can live forever, like Olympic weightlifting, the happy body, poetry, art, or something that you do together, and you do business together. You open certain business together, and you run that business. You have challenges and face these challenges together and help each other from a different perspective. Because she has different perspective than I, but we build together the wholeness. Yeah, and we constantly we like. Yeah.
So have a purpose, have something long term that you can work on together as a couple, whether it's business or an activity. Have something that you're both invested in that's long term.
Yes, it takes a lot. It takes your life, right, for it. But it can be anything. But it has to be, if you like hikes, you go for hikes. If you like, climbing mountains, climb together, and make it meaningful, make it countable, right? That and make it harder and harder. So it's not easy, if it's easy. If something is easy, it means you know how to do it, and it's boring. If you repeat things in life on the same level of effort, it's boring. So why I would do something what is an easy choice, right?
Yeah.
It's boring. Why I would really do that, right? So I don't want to do this thing. If you climb the mountain, you climb another one higher and higher and higher. And eventually somebody climbed Mount Everest and was asked, why did you climb? Well, because it was there, right?
Yeah.
Now, okay, so what are you going to do now? You cannot climb higher. So I have to find something else.
Well,
yes, exactly. If you pick up poetry, it will never end because the mountain is higher and higher forever. Olympic weightlifting, higher, higher forever. Any sport, if you train yourself to become better in that sport, it never ends. The mountain is
the never-ending aspect is what makes something beautiful and meaningful, and also tough and frustrating. And I definitely feel that in my own life. Yeah, it makes you feel alive. Yeah, it's a great way to put it.
Yeah, in a way, I adopted the idea, I think, from Stoics, that, Stoics' purpose of life is to give back. The idea of it is, the nature brought you here, and then, and you are here, and nature gave you life, right? And you have that life. Now, what you do with this life, and why you're here is a question. So Stoics believe that you are responsible to the point to become as the best version of yourself and work constantly to improve yourself until you die. And I think that's that message I really understood, and I live that way of life. I live the life of improving myself, even though I don't know why it happens. I don't know where is it going, but it really doesn't matter because I'm fulfilling my responsibility to the planet, I think, to become the best version. And in this way, the world becomes a better place because I'm becoming a better person. And if we could adapt, all of us could adapt that way, imagine what would happen on the planet, right?
Yeah. Well, thank you, Jerzy, so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. And I know a lot of people will gain a ton of value from your words and your work. Where is the best place for people to check out The Happy Body and also your poetry and other writings?
Well, the best way is go to thehappybody.com and see all the books. I wrote dialogues and I wrote poems and I wrote stories and lectures. And also you can go to Amazon and check my name there. The books will come out. And if you engage The Happy Body, I meet always every day with people that have questions on Zoom. So when people buy The Happy Body book, there is a sign that I'm on Zoom with a certain number, and people can come and they can talk to me, they can ask me questions, and I help them with this micro-progressive system and adapting them to the lifestyle they want to create, a better lifestyle for themselves.
Well, thank you again, Jerzy. I'll link everything in the podcast description as well for people listening, whether it's on the app or YouTube. I'll have everything linked in there. And thank you again, Jerzy. I really do appreciate your time.
Thank you, Zach. And I see my wife is pacing outside, waiting for me to go to the car. We're going to Pete's Coffee, have our bar, and discuss something. Probably I will be telling her how it was here.
Yes. Well, enjoy the coffee, and I'll talk to you soon, Jerzy.
All right. Thank you, Zach.
Bye.
Great to be here.